Hey, everybody, it is Friday, and that means there's another episode of There's No Crying in Crochet, where we solve all your everyday frustrations, problems, talk about fun stuff. We do all the cool stuff. So,
Yes,
since we're the cool kids on the block, we're going to introduce ourselves right now. I'm Debbie from Madam Stitch, and this is my cohort in crime.
I'm Biz from Busy Crochet. Thanks for coming today.
And we are here to entertain you today with some fun, cozy reads in crochet. So I hope you're
Yes.
ready for that. We'll get to that in just a second. First off, let's do some business. So we
Yeah.
ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channels, Busy Crochet and Madam Stitch Crochet, because not only do we have this cool podcast, which we love to do every Friday, but we also have tutorials and stuff about our patterns and just general information. And we're popping new things on all the time. When you subscribe, you get a notification. I guess I subscribe to myself because I keep getting notifications that I've uploaded something, which is really cool. Yes, I did. Thank you
It's
for
just like
letting
an
me know
auto
that.
subscribe thing, right?
Yeah, I guess. All right. And if you are watching on Facebook today, we are using StreamYard. So give StreamYard permission to display your name because we love to see who we're talking to, not anonymous Facebook users. So please share. They don't do anything with your information. They just let us see who we're
Sorry.
talking to. Speaking of who we're talking to, well, Dawn is here with us as
Dawn
usual.
is always here with us. She's so
Dawn, we
awesome.
appreciate it. We love to have you here. All right. We start off every episode that's live with what's up this week. So, Biz, we were just kibitzing about this a little bit beforehand. Biz and I are just it's September, y'all. And
Oh my
so
God.
we
It's like, how
we're
real
just
do you want it to be? That's what I need to
well,
know.
I think we probably should keep it PG.
Okay. All right.
But
Well,
so what's up this week?
I started school and oh my God, I'm 53 years old back in college.
I
It's
love it.
really, that's honestly all I can really say about it because I felt like a fish out of water so badly. And I was telling Deb that I told my husband, I'm pretty sure that this history class I'm in is for smart people, and I'm not one of them. Because
Oh,
I can get it. The
I
thing
beg
is,
to disagree,
I
but
have to finesse my my BSer, because you got to be able to talk the circle, you know, and I'm just not at the full circle yet. So some of the stuff that I was reading, it was like, oh my God, that's really, really like super in depth. And really, that's what you sit and think about. Holy cow, you people you're like really smart stuff. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. So I did the best that I could, because I'll just say that I'm sorry, I have got this phlegmy thing happening. Um our first post, our discussion post, because it's all online. So if you've ever done online school, you know that a big part of your grading is based on the discussion posts, kind of like the old chat boards back when we started with AOL and MSN or whatever that
oh,
was.
you're dating yourself now.
Oh, yeah, I
Oh,
know. Back when Excite.com actually had, I used to have my email through them. I mean, this is how old I
I
am.
don't even know what that is. But I'm older than you, so I don't know. I just
Well,
missed out.
I wasn't willing to like pay for AOL, so I went with the free one, and one that was excite.com.
Woo.
That was, yes, I know. And I had that one for gosh a long time. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So the old chat boards. And so, you've got to do this whole thread, and our thread this week is about looking at injustice and stuff like that as far as immigration is concerned in Ellis Island. And so we had to, but the fun thing is that my, grandfather actually came through Ellis Island as a baby. And ironically, as I was reading through the information, there was apparently a period of time between 1920 and 1924 where they did a ban on receiving immigrants from Southern European countries, which would have included Italy. And so they must have just squeaked in the door before they put that ban in place, because he was 5 months old, and he was born in February. So, like, it must have happened sometime in that year, and what would have happened had they gotten there and that band was in place? So, just some interesting stuff on how you can take that history and apply it to your actual family life. And so, really, all I was able to, do a nice little post, and hopefully it works. I haven't looked to see if anybody responded to it or whatever, but yeah, that's what I've been doing this week. I've been stressing out and taking care of the baby.
One of those things is better than the other.
It is so much better than the other. So what have you been up
Just
to? I've
saying.
been hearing you've been lots of driving.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't want to complain because I just found out that a colleague has to drive her daughter to school 40 miles away both
Mm.
ways. So she has to come home in between. She can't just stay. So she's
Ah,
putting, yeah. So I'm not going to complain about the driving. No, it's just the beginning of school for me
that's 100
is
that's 160 miles
That's
a day.
160 miles a day just to get back and forth to school. That is correct. Your math has passed. Um, but I yes,
I'm
it's
for
just
sure.
that the days that I have the grandkids are not as convenient as they were in the past. And so I always spend the first couple of weeks of school feeling like I'm behind in everything, I'm not getting
Mm,
anything done, or I'm working in the hours that I don't want to work or letting things go. It's a
mhm,
time of adjustment. I always manage to get it figured out. I
mhm.
still managed to re-release. I will re-release two patterns this week, one with new
That's
sizes
exciting.
and one with, I know. So obviously I'm getting some stuff done, but
Yes.
it just feels a little stressful. That's all right. We'll get there. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Being a grandparent is the best thing that ever happened to me, sort of. I mean, there are other things, best things, but um, it's really cool. Love it, love it. All right.
So hi
Well,
to
that sums up
Carolina,
with
also she's from Sweden. We've got Dawn from
oh,
Washington State.
nice.
Make sure you
All
say hi to us.
over.
We're looking forward to seeing you.
All right. Well, it's time to get into our subject. Today is National Read a Book Day,
It
which,
is.
oh my gosh, I just think that's phenomenal. And I'm glad that it was timed with a day when we do the podcast, because
Yes.
today we're going to talk about cozy reads and crochet
Mhm.
as we celebrate. Did I spell that right? Yes, I did. Celebrating National Read a Book Day. Um, so we thought it would
Readers
be
with
fun
ears.
to put together an episode
Mm.
about what we like to read, why we read, what are some of the things that we have in our libraries, and specifically then into crochet, because I don't know if you've noticed, Biz, but there are a number of crochet designers who are now designing things for people who love to read.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I thought it would be fun
Mhm.
to start with. All right, I'm going to pose this question to you, Biz.
Okay.
Why do we read? Why
Why
do
do we
you read?
why do I
This is
read?
why we read.
Um, well, when I first became a real reader, I was a reader because I didn't really have a social life, and I was really just a nerd. And for me, reading is the opportunity to visit somewhere else and be a part of a different world and, discover different things. So for me, reading was always an escape. Um, Now I don't use it quite for that, because quite honestly, for a long time, I didn't read because I was too busy crocheting.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then I realized that I was letting a lot of valuable time go by, like how it starts to feel like you're kind of wasting time, like you're so focused on one thing, but there's so much, because reading you can gain so much from it.
Mhm.
But you're so focused on this one thing over here that you lose track of like everything else around you.
Yeah.
So I started reading again this year. I made a goal for myself to read at least one book a month before the end of the year, and I made that goal in June. So I'm already, hang on just a second, I'll let you know where I'm at with that. I am one, two, three, four, 5 books done. I have 3
Wow.
more on my that I'm working through, and I have more that I want to buy. So
Sweet.
because it's so valuable. How about you?
Yes. Oh, I
What do
have
you read?
always been an avid reader. Um, when I was younger, it was more reading for information. So I would read books. I was a professional singer and a voice teacher, so I would read books about those things. Um, I would read magazines about household things to help me out with my everyday life. And I really didn't get into recreational reading as much until after my kids were grown
Mhm,
and gone. So now I read at night. I still read for information, so I read business books and things like that. But
mhm,
I read for escape at night.
mhm.
It's the last thing I do every day. I read when I go to bed. Now I'm tired already, so sometimes I read 3 pages.
Yeah,
Um,
and you're lucky you
and then
get
we're
those.
done. Yes, and then we're done, and I don't read physical books at night much anymore because I can't really see them,
Okay.
so I read everything on my iPad. I will download books to my iPad or borrow them
Mm.
from the electronic electronic library.
That's a
Wow, that's
really
a
great
mouthful.
resource.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, I read for pleasure now, but I find it funny that I rarely read during the day because I feel like,
Mhm,
okay, I need to be productive with crochet or cleaning the house or
mhm,
cooking the meals or doing something. And reading to me is decadent right now. So I read
mm,
at night.
okay. My nighttime is my time for my games on my phone because I don't pick up my phone to play games until, like, I wanna say 7 or 8 o'clock. So, at
Gotcha.
that point, I kind like, my whole the rest of my night is just listening to TV because 'cause I've had to, just stop crocheting for a while to let my arms rest and heal. So, I've started playing games on my phone instead. It doesn't keep me from eating the way that crochet does, though, I will say that.
Ah,
Um, but that's my nighttime stuff, but when I read is usually in the morning because my brain is fresh, I
mhm.
absorb the most, and I can get through more in the morning than I can at night because, like you said, if I were to try to read at night, I might get a page done and I'm zonked out.
Yeah.
And I have to read physical books. Like, I don't know what it is. My brain just goes doot, 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 doot if I don't have it in my hands. Um, if I am trying to listen to it, forget about it. My brain is over
Oh,
there
my
on,
brain wanders. Yeah,
yep,
things creep in. Yeah.
because it's kind of like listening to TV.
Mhm.
Like I have sound on in the background so that it's just there when I'm
Yeah,
crocheting, or playing
right.
my video games. But for me to read, I have to have it in front of me because I might have to read it more than once.
Mhm.
Because if I'm going too fast, because I do read really fast, but sometimes I'm reading so fast, I'm not comprehending what I'm reading.
Right.
So I will miss things and have to go back and read it again. And
Oh,
I
been
just,
there, done that.
yeah, I thrive with an actual book. I love books. I love to sniff them. I like to feel them. I like to touch them, everything.
I agree, and I read physical books as much as I possibly can, but at night
Yeah.
when the light is low and my eyes are tired,
Yeah.
we're kinda done. All
I can
right,
see where that would be, more advantageous to do it on your device.
and dark mode. It's perfect. The no
Yeah,
blue light, dark mode is great.
perfect.
All right, now let's name some of our favorite authors and genres. This is gonna be fun.
Yes.
All right, so
Okay,
when you read for fun,
okay.
who are your favorite authors?
Alright, so right now is it fun? Yeah, it is fun because, like, to me, reading is fun. Um, if I'm going for something, fantasy or something that is a story and not informational, I would go with somebody like Ted Decker. Now I usually stick with Christian authors only because their stuff has less of the swearing and the nudity and the sex and all of that kind of stuff in it. I didn't care when I was younger, but the older I get, the less I enjoy that kind of stuff. So, Ted Decker is an amazing, I want to say, Stephen King light.
Ooh.
Yes, his books are very like brainy, and it always talks about the dichotomy of good and evil. It brings in creepy elements. He's also done some collaborations with Frank Peretti. Frank Peretti is an amazing creepy Christian author where he doesn't avoid the world side of things. He doesn't try to make it really Christiany or anything like that. It's still a very, very interesting read. And hesitate to say things like, "Oh, it's not too Christiany," but I mean, there are books where you're like, "Come on, really?" Like that's not even reality. You know, I don't get into sappy. I don't get into anything that's like gooey or there's such a good message in it that you're just like, okay, I could just throw up right now. I know that sounds terrible. It sounds awful. And people look at Christians and they go, "Oh, you're letting the world in, blah blah blah." You know what? The world's there, and I am perfectly fine with parsing through it. And these authors allow me to enjoy my genres. Like my favorite is horror and sci-fi and fantasy, and those are the things that
Hmm.
my brain is drawn to. And so I'm able to still enjoy those things without really compromising the stuff that I don't enjoy anymore.
Right.
Because like I can't read Stephen King anymore. My husband made me stop reading him when we were, I want to say, a couple of years married, because I was actually, having nightmares because his
Mm.
books are so psychological and they're so
Yeah.
good. They really get in there, and I was having trouble with that. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I switched over to. It doesn't mean that I don't dream about them, but I just don't have quite the same effect.
Hmm.
I know that was probably more than you wanted to know. Oh, sorry. Also, one of my other favorite Christian authors, where she does more like historical romance. Okay, so like I do enjoy a good story around based on a love story, but I don't want it to be ooey gooey, and I don't want them. I don't need anybody slamming anybody up against the wall to have sex. I enjoy it because it has some purity to it, but it also has a historical story. Lynn
Hmm.
Austin is an amazing author who does that kind of stuff. Um, and then as far as like the books that I'm reading now, um, John Maxwell, he is an extremely good author on leadership. And another lady that I'm reading is Natalie Runyon. She talks a lot about church. And Dr. Anita Phillips. She has a book that I'm reading right now called The Garden Within, and it deals with us learning how to deal with our emotions and not treating them as though they're a bad thing.
Oh, always
Sorry,
a good thing.
that's me.
Well, if you're willing to listen to what I have to say, then we're
Absolutely.
in business. Yeah. All
Go
right.
girls.
So I am a Stephen King junkie. So yeah.
Love that
Although,
book.
honey, that's a good one. We went to Colorado. My husband and I went to Colorado in April, and I knew I was going to be near the Shining Hotel. So I read The Shining. I watched the
So
movie, but I
jealous.
don't think I had ever read The Shining. And I couldn't believe how like that hotel his book was. In fact, I found out while I was there that Stephen King used that hotel, the Stanley Hotel, as his
Really?
inspiration for the book,
Yeah.
because there were scenes and um, things that you saw in the book
Yeah.
in that hotel. And I'm going, wait, I remember that. I remember that. It
Yes.
was
Oh
just
my
a
God, how
fabulous.
amazing.
Now, Stephen King is the only horror author that I can really read because I like him because he is so brainy, because he does get kind of in your head and you can't put it down. But kind of in a women author
Mhm.
phase right now just because they're so fabulous. I love Philippa Gregory. I
Okay.
love her books. I love historical fiction, but the way she tells it.
Mhm.
I love Jennifer Weiner's books. I never thought I would, but I love Jennifer Weiner.
I've not
She
heard of her.
lives she lives in Philadelphia, and
Okay.
is and so I get to go to book signings that she has all the time.
Oh, cool.
And it would you get to hear the author talk about how they wrote the book and why they wrote the book, and you just lap it up like there's no tomorrow. She is just a wonderful, amazing human being.
Uh-huh.
Another one of my favorite authors is Kristen Hanna, she kind of writes historical fiction. She did a book called The Nightingale, which was about World War II, but from the French perspective. You know, you always read about the German perspective because that's what everybody kind of
Right.
gravitates toward. But boy, howdy, did the French get their butts kicked in World War II. And um, so that was a fabulous. She
It was
wrote
horrible.
another one about called The Four Winds about the Dust Bowl era in the United
Wow.
States. Oh, it
Yeah,
was
I
so
love stuff like
cool.
that.
So Kristen Hanna is one of my favorites, and my absolute favorite is Jodi Picoult. Oh
Okay.
my goodness. She puts out a book every couple of years, and every book that she writes, she researches it to the depths of research. It's, I'll say some controversial topics
Okay.
that she'll tackle, but her main claim to fame is that there's always a twist in the book, and the twist always happens in the last 3 to 5 pages. Always, always. You
Oh,
really never know what that twist is going to be.
so
It's
you have to not be the person
crazy.
who reads the end of the book first.
I never read the end of the book. Never read
Can't.
the end of the book.
It would ruin it for you.
Cannot. But I'm kind of in that phase right now because my daughter and I, who reads 200 books a year, um,
Wow.
she turns me on to all of these authors that I can't really quote to you right now. So she kind of opens up my world to really cool authors who write well and get you thinking. And yeah, I love all of that stuff.
That's awesome.
All right. So moving on. So we already talked about our favorite books. So we're going to actually move on from that. What are you reading right now, Biz?
Oh, sorry. I already did that. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab my small pile here. So I am currently reading this one. John Maxwell, like I said, he's a leadership principles person. And this book is Put Your Dreams to the Test. And there's, I believe, 5 questions that he asks you to go in depth with. Is your dream worth pursuing? Is it worth your time? I mean, there's lots of things. I'm just now at the very, very end of the book. It's taken me a long time to read this book, but it helps you if you have a dream. And um I think it helps people who have one at the beginning, and it also helps people who are in the middle of a dream and trying to figure out whether or not it's worth holding on to. Um,
Gotcha.
and or if you are thinking of pursuing something, it helps you to really think things through. And this is my second book that I've read of his. For the life of me, wait, you know what? I just said I had a because I have a list. I'm writing down everything I read this year so I can keep track. It's called um oh no, I didn't finish one of his yet. Okay, so the ones that I have finished are Raised to Stay by Natalie Runyon. The Alone Advantage by Terry Savelle Foy is actually the book that got me started on reading, because hers also deals a lot with chasing your dreams. What's your vision for your life? That kind of stuff. I've been kind of on like a journey lately to figure out who am I and what the heck do I want. Um, and so that is actually why that book really prompted me to go back to school. and
Wow.
to really pivot my life and go in a completely different direction. Um, so like I said, The Alone Advantage by Terry Savelle Foy. It is a Christian book, just so you are fully aware. But it really made me think about things. And that's what I'm in the middle of now. Is just like I want to be challenged. So anyway, the other one I'm currently reading, this is the second, The House That Jesus Built. It has to do with churches, people who are in ministry, and if you're struggling with things. I'm also reading A Daily Leadership by John Maxwell. Yes, I touch all of these every day. And then Dr. Anita Phillips, The Garden Within. This one is Where the War with Your Emotion Ends and Your Most Powerful Life Begins, because we spend so much time telling ourselves that our emotions are working against us, or you're so emotional, or you're so this, or you're so that, except that we're created to have emotions. And this kind of gives us the permission to understand that your emotions aren't a bad thing. If you're
Mhm.
experiencing an emotion, it's usually because there's a root cause to it. And you really kind of need to dig and find out what the root cause, so you can deal with that instead
Right.
of what's being presented to the front. So I I recommend highly. Um so yeah, that's what I'm reading now. Like I'm reading a lot, but I try to read at least 3 to 4 pages a day in each of the books. What are you reading?
Oh, funny you should ask. I actually had the physical book. Oh, I've lost one of my AirPods, so hopefully you can still hear me. Um,
Oh, I
I
can.
swear, you can? Otherwise, I'll get down out of the picture and pick it up. Just make sure I
Yeah,
don't
I can
drop
hear you.
this
And
one.
things seem to keep pausing.
Okay. So I had the physical book, and then I was walking around the house and laid it down somewhere. I do not see it anywhere. So I pulled it up on my
Oh no.
iPad. This is what I'm currently reading. It's called
Yes. I've seen
Sutton
that one.
Foster Hooked. Okay. So this book, Sutton Foster, it's a book about her life. Now she might be 50, but I think
I'm gonna
she's
write
at
that one down.
yeah. It's about how crafting saved her life. Um, I'm I'm not all the way through it, but she talks about the dysfunctional family that she had, her mom and dad, um, and how she was having trouble when she was very popular. She broke into Broadway in her early 20s,
Okay.
and was is having great success, but it talks in the book not only about having to deal with the isolation of being in Broadway and being on tour and how crafting helped her, but also how it helped her deal with her family issues and all of that kind of stuff. And Hooked, because crochet, she actually does, if you follow her on Instagram, every show she does, she starts a crochet project, and she'll do it in between
Nice.
acts or in between shows. You'll see her crocheting in costume. She also talks in the book, something that I related to. I could believe it. When I was performing professionally, I had extreme performance anxiety. No
Mm.
one knew it. I could get up and do my thing, and no one knew that I was about to die up there. The whole day
Wow.
I would spend hating myself for accepting the job. Then I'd get out on stage and I'd open my mouth and find things would be fine. So I had to deal with that. Well, I couldn't believe it, but she has to deal with that as well. Now, I don't know if she still does, but there were
Wow.
times when she would get out on stage and not know what was gonna come out of her mouth because she was so frightened. I saw her just a few weeks ago, in Once Upon a Mattress. Holy cow, just the most amazing performer on the
Wow.
planet. So I highly recommend the book. It talks a lot
Mhm.
about her life, her struggles in the theater, how she used a lot of crafts. She talks about learning to cross stitch. She taught herself to crochet. Um, her aunt, I think, baked, so she learned some baking from her aunt. She does all these creative arts to balance and keep herself stable, just to
That
have a
is
place to
super
kind of
cool.
lose herself, right?
Mm,
And I think for me, crochet is that for me. I know we've talked about this before. It gives me a sense of peace. It gives me projects to settle my anxieties and my stress. I
mhm.
end every day with crochet. I start every day with crochet, and it just kind of bookends my day with a stress-free atmosphere. And it was really cool to hear that from her book. So I highly recommend that book. Hooked is what it's called, by Sutton
Yeah, I've
Foster.
got that on my to get list, so I'm definitely gonna get that one. With you saying that about crochet and being excuse me, and being such a stress reliever, I've been so, like, anxious in the last couple of weeks, and I think I'm kind of
Mm.
realizing that I have not had the chance to, or not, I shouldn't say had the chance, but because I've been letting my arms rest and heal, I feel that not release. Do you know what I mean? Where, like,
Yep,
I'm not
I
letting myself
absolutely hear
go
that.
into something creative, and it just starts to build up in you, and, like,
Mhm.
you're snapping at people, you're anxious about this, you're overwhelmed about that because there's nowhere for all of that to go.
Yep.
So, I'm gonna
One of
have
my
to break out a
favorites
project.
I know, one of my favorite
Mm.
stories was, I had to go in for crown prep, at the dentist. Y'all, I I hate going to the dentist. I mean, it's
I
one
do
of the
too.
things I would rather go out and sing for 1,000 people than have the dentist in my mouth. It's just
Oh my gosh.
crazy. So, I remember this time I had to have crown prep done, and it was my second one, so I knew what I was in for, which is probably a bad thing. But I was to the point of shaking, and I took my crochet with me. In the waiting room, I did my crochet and just
Mhm.
kind of started breathing, and I was fine.
Yeah.
Crown prep is not that bad, especially when you've got a dentist as great as mine, but I
Yeah.
just have this mental thing about going to the dentist that crochet helps me with. Oh,
Yes.
love it.
Dawn says she just had a wisdom tooth pulled. Wisdom teeth are the
Oh,
worst.
oh my gosh. Thank goodness I was very young when I had that done. Didn't know any better. So it's great.
I will say this, I am very blessed because my mouth is too small for wisdom teeth, and I have never grown wisdom teeth. Like, they're not even in my jaw. I don't know how
Is
it bypassed me.
what up?
I don't know. They just never formed,
That is
and I'm
crazy.
still smart.
Yeah, I agree.
I
All
don't feel
right.
bad.
Wisdom teeth have nothing to do with intelligence.
I
Just here to
know.
tell you.
I
So if you
know, and
have them
it's
taken out, your IQ does not descend. All right. So just so you know. All right, now, okay, so we're in the business of crochet. So we
Yes.
can't have a book episode without talking about crochet books that are in our
Mhm.
libraries. Now,
No.
Biz, I don't know about you, but I've stopped doing it so much now because I have my iPad,
Yeah.
but and can download things. But for years, I would just gather all the things. I've got books on Tunisian,
What? There's a
which I
new
don't
book?
do.
Gotta get
I
it.
don't do it. Um, on all kinds of things
Yes.
crochet.
Yes.
But my favorite books are the ones that talk about stitches and motifs. So I'm
Yes.
going to start. Edie Eckman is just the goddess of crochet, y'all. If you
So
have never read one of her posts, taken her newsletter,
Mhm.
looked at a YouTube video, taken a class from, I've taken several classes from her. Um, this is one of the books that she wrote, Connect the Shapes, Crochet Motifs, which we mentioned in our motif great
Yeah.
debate episode. But her books are stunning,
They're
especially with
beautiful.
all the charts, right? And she's a tech
Like,
editor.
perfect
She does chart,
explanations.
right? Okay,
Yep.
so she's got lots of books out there. And the other one that regularly use is this beautiful, gorgeous 500 crochet
Oh,
stitches. It's an
Nice.
encyclopedia just of well, it's got motifs, it's got stitches, it's got borders. It's just being a designer who kind of sticks to the same things a lot. One of those books really helps me to broaden my
Yes.
repertoire and find ways to integrate them into my crochet projects. Those are a
Yes.
couple of my favorites. What about you,
Um,
Miss B?
I have to agree. I didn't pull any of mine off the shelf and I feel really bad. But one of my absolute favorite books is an Edie Eckman book, and it's called Crochet Borders.
Oh,
And
yeah,
what she does is there's
I have
like
that
a
one.
corner. Yes, isn't it wonderful? I have
Mhm,
used that book on so many blankets. And a lot of times I'm not gonna say I've used exact ones. A lot of times I'll dissect them and just take something from different
mhm,
parts because I want to put something together differently. But I've used the borders full on the way that they are as well. One of my
mhm.
favorite borders to do is actually the one on the vintage Christmas blanket, and then it's also on I can't remember the other one. It's on it's on 2 blankets, but it's so pretty. Just because it's so simple and it's so elegant looking. Absolutely love it. But anyway, that one, and then I just got a brand new one. I don't know who the author is. It's called The New Crochet Stitch Dictionary. It has a bunch of different now a lot of them will have the same stitches in them,
Right.
but every once in a while you will find a book that has like a different section in it, and this one seems to have chunky crochet stitches in it that were different than I've seen in any of the other ones,
Mhm,
because as in you know everything's innovative and continues to move forward, so as people begin to play with stitches more, they create more stitch
right.
patterns. So just because it's a new book doesn't mean that it's wrong, because like some of us are very very loyal to our old books, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's okay. I thought, you know what, there's probably everything that I already have in the other two books that I have, but that looks different enough, I'm going to go ahead and get it.
Well, I think it's fabulous to see someone else's perspective.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons why I like occasionally making someone else's patterns. It's just a different way of looking at
Hmm.
things, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to pull out, excuse me from being off screen here for just a moment,
No
but
worry.
those are books that we like because we're crochet designers. What
Yeah.
about people who are makers who are doing it just for fun? There are a lot of
Oh my
pattern books
gosh.
out there, right?
Yes.
Collections from your favorite designers. A lot of designers are beginning to put together collections. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to put in another plug for my friend Michelle of Two Brothers Blankets.
That's a great
Making
book.
crochet for right? Making crochet for men is a
Yes.
big thing right now. And she put together one of the things that I love about her book, and a lot of designers are doing this, is she walks you through the process of making the crochet personalized for whoever you happen to be making it for. And a
Hmm.
lot of designers are doing that right now. So you can get a physical book like this one, or a lot of designers will also have ebooks that you can download or
Hmm.
print out. They'll list them on Amazon, they'll list them in their own shops, that sort of
Hmm.
thing. And I would encourage you, if you find a designer that you really love, invest in some of their collections,
Hmm.
because it's really worth the money, um, to see how they do things. That's their specialty.
And I'm going to throw this out there because even though, the internet is eternal, um, I have found, even in the last, let's see, when did I start going online? Probably from about 2005. Is about when I remember. In the last almost 20 years, the patterns that I found back at that time, you almost can't find them online anymore. If you didn't print them off, if you didn't,
Mm.
because everything gets archived after a while.
Right.
And
Yes, I do believe that, yeah.
not everything's always available forever.
Right.
So if you've got a designer that has taken the time to put some of this stuff into a collection of things, it behooves you to purchase that because you may find something or have a pattern that you absolutely adore and you're like, this is going to be around forever. I don't feel like I need to go and buy it. You know what? In about
Not
15 years,
necessarily.
you're going to be like, oh my God, I want to make that again. Where is it? And okay, so everybody knows that I like my sci-fi and my fantasy and my futuristic stuff. So I'm telling you the truth when I say that back in, around 2005 or 6, I was like, what is going to happen if the internet fails and we don't have access to these patterns anymore? And
Well, that's a
I
thing. I mean,
I
that
made
could
it
be a
my
thing.
yes, I made it my personal quest to create a craft library, not only for
Mhm.
myself, but for the future generations of my family to
Oh
make
my
sure
goodness, that's a
that you have access to patterns. And so I've like my bookshelves, and I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff that I don't know why I bought it, but um I've kept, I've curated a collection of books that I love personally. And so that when I look at books, that's what I think. I want to have a library where my family can walk in and they can find
right.
whatever they want. I like my dream is a Beauty and the Beast library. So
Yeah, right.
so we can
No, I
fly
agree.
through on a
And
ladder.
honestly, I am right there with you. I mean, I think uh, it's a resource, but it's also a source of comfort. I love having books around me.
Yes.
Not that it necessarily makes me feel smarter. It just means that
Mhm,
I've invested
mhm,
in my knowledge of crochet. I've
uh-huh,
invested in my need to entertain myself through the written word because there is nothing like a story in written word and let your imagination create the
yes,
picture.
yes,
Think of your crochet library much the same
yes,
way. Let let your imagination create your own personal project and
mhm,
surround yourself with crochet. I mean, we all have yarn stashes, right?
yes,
We all have yarn stashes. So why not have a pattern library, a physical pattern library
mhm,
where you can just go pull it out and
mhm.
there it is to look at. I like that idea.
And even for the ones that are online, if I have a pattern that I absolutely love and I like to make again and again, I will go and I will print that sucker off.
Mhm.
I either buy the PDF or I print it from their website, whatever. And I put it in a 3-ring binder. Now,
Yeah.
my 3-ring binder is, about that thick and weighs about
You only
75
have
pounds.
one?
I do, only because, I just haven't purchased another one. Now I've got the sleeves and all that stuff, but I there was a time, I'm telling you, I had reams of
Yeah.
patterns
Yeah.
that I had printed off of the internet, and I finally went through them all, and I probably took care of half of a forest, just printing stuff
Sta
off. But that was
Staples
back
was
in
your
the
best friend.
day. That was back in the day when everything was on the internet and, you couldn't really get a lot of printed
Right.
patterns. All the cool
Right.
stuff was online, and if you wanted to have it, you
Mhm.
printed it off. The Lion brand, like all of those, just oh
Oh,
geez
I
Louise.
did that. Oh, man, I
Ooh,
printed a lot of those. Yeah, I still
yeah.
have a bunny lovey that I made for a couple of people for nursery, uh, shower gifts,
Yes.
um, that I got from Lion Brand. It's like, "Well, this is the greatest thing ever." "Yes, thank you, Lion Brand. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it."
They used to have this amigurumi, um, series of animals, little frog and a little this and a little that, and they were the cutest little things. And of them all, I think the frog is still my favorite because it's just a ball and you put a face on it with some legs.
Mhm.
And it was fun and it was simple. And the whole thing is that there are so many amazing designers out there now that have really taken the
Right.
next step with each one of these different, areas, the blankets, the clothing, the ami, the everything. It's
Absolutely.
worth putting that into your library. And if you like to thrift, pull some of those old books off the shelf. If you run into old crochet books, now I'm a sucker for history. Love it, love it, love it. I love collecting it. I love having it around me. Um, my dad has passed on his what do we call that? Pack rat. his pack rat gene to me, and he is just emotionally connected to anything with history, and I've kind of picked that up myself because if we don't treasure it, it gets lost.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Absolutely. Now,
So,
we're talking about
there's that.
projects.
Yes,
So since we are about crochet, we've put the books on our shelves. Right
yes,
now, we have to make all the projects because
yes.
books, another thing that I'm seeing just go crazy right now are things for books, about books, things you can do while you're reading a book. I mean,
Right.
there are all kinds of things, right? So we've got one of the things that I love is bookmarks. You read a physical book,
Mhm.
you can take thread or fine fingering weight yarn and make a beautiful bookmark.
Yes.
Those are really popular.
I remember doing a lot
Books,
of that stuff in the '80s. We would make the curly Q on
yep,
one end, make a really, really long piece, and then a little thing on the other end.
yep, beads,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. You can do
Yep.
all kinds of things with your bookmarks. Book sleeves, so you can either
Mhm.
um, make an envelope to put your book in, or you can make a sleeve. You've seen those book jackets, right? That you
Yes.
put, well, you can crochet a book jacket, believe it or not.
Like
It's
back when we were in
fabulous.
school and we used to have to cover our books with, paper bags.
Grocery paper bags, yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, bring your, yeah, find one now. That would be
I know
a
kids do
great,
not realize the things we had to go through.
what we had to do, man, back in the day, right? Um,
Uphill
so
both
if
ways
you
in the snow barefoot.
yeah, right. If you go to the library often like my daughter does, totes and bags,
Yes.
cool totes and bags, granny square bags will
Yes.
carry your books. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Um, Now, today, one of the patterns that I just refreshed and released was my library book shawl. So you're not going to be able to see the full thing. You can see it on my website or follow me
Yeah,
on
I was
social
looking at
media.
that.
But it's basically a triangle with granny stitch and solid sections. It's one of
Nice.
the coolest mindful makes I've done in an awfully long time. It's called the library book shawl because Lion Brand had a line of yarn called Flicka, and this color, this tweedy color,
Yeah.
was called library book. I'm going,
Nice.
yes, I need that. That I'm going. So as I'm refreshing the pattern to re-release and put it up online for free,
Yeah.
I'm looking for links to all the yarns. Don't you know
Mhm.
that Lion Brand, I knew a long time ago that they discontinued Flicka. This I wrote this pattern 2.5 years ago. It's not been that long.
Mhm.
They had a yarn, I think they just rebranded the yarn and made it Comfy Cotton Blend because it
Oh,
was the
okay.
same thing. So I bought oodles and gobs of it. You can see it on the top shelf, second cubby in.
The
I
oodles
bought
and gobs.
gobs of it. And I went to check yesterday. They don't make that anymore. And there is nothing in their arsenal that's even remotely like it. Nothing.
Mm.
So now it's like go buy some DK weight or light worsted weight, make yourself a shawl. It'll be great, but it's not going to look like mine. Sorry. It's just so
Isn't that just such a
aggravating.
bummer? It
Yeah.
seems like every time you
But
fall in love with a line of yarn, it gets discontinued, and my thought process is and usually it's a pretty popular yarn. Like, is it the company they're working with has changed something, or just did you just go, "Gosh, I'm tired of that, I wanna move on?" Like, what is the reason for it's like getting rid of meatloaf at Bob Evans. Why would you do that? It's one of the most popular dishes at the restaurant. Why do you get rid
well,
of the popular stuff?
I can understand why Flicka went the way of the discontinued yarns, but I'm positive
Yeah,
owning both of them. I am positive the Comfy Cotton Blend is just a rebranding,
okay.
but the Comfy Cotton Blend is exactly what it says. But anyway, I digress. Wraps that you can just wrap yourself in this like this triangle shawl. Blankets. Oh my gosh, any old
Mhm.
blanket,
Snuggle
to sit in
time.
your right? Lap blankets or full-size blankets or however you wanna spend your reading time. I love that.
Or even throwing this out there because I have issues with my arms hanging and my arms go numb on me. Pillows to help you prop up your book,
Mm,
something behind your neck, something
right?
behind your lower back.
Yep.
Pillows are amazing things to make to accessorize your reading.
Exactly. I mean, there's so coaster for the drink that you're having
Yes, I mean, this
while you're reading a
everything is
book.
adaptable.
Because 'cause I'm sorry, I don't sit in my recliner without something to drink, so the coaster's a, big player over here. So there are so many things that aren't just book related that can make your reading nook cozy, comfy, decorated in book theme. In fact, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Temperature blankets are really popular. I'm gonna
God
try
bless
to
'em.
do a book temperature blanket. So in the year of 2025,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna try this and see how it works. Because if you read 200 books like my daughter does, that's one of the most gigantic blankets on the planet.
It is.
But if you read, 20 to 25 like I do, doable. But I thought it would be fun to do a blanket that did squares in the colors of the book jacket of the book you just finished,
Okay,
right?
so you saying that, I actually have a friend who does that.
Really?
Yes, on Facebook, and I've been following she's actually one of my, testers, and her name is Brooke, and she takes, like a 12-inch square, and every book she reads, she makes a square to go. I mean, that's a fabulous idea, what a
Think of
great.
the colors of this
Yes,
book,
and what
right?
a fun
Um,
blanket.
right, so I think that's gonna be instead of designing a temperature blanket, I'm going to design a book record blanket and
Heck yes,
something.
that's
So
fabulous.
anyway, that's we'll see if that comes to fruition because that's going to require some planning on my part. But I think it's just a fabulous way to decorate your home with a memory. You and I are very
Yeah.
much into memories and creating memories. So um, finding a way to incorporate that memory into our space.
I do wanna throw out one thing because I don't know why it didn't even occur to me before, but one of the blankets that I have designed in the past is actually based on a book, and it's Grimm's Fairy Tales because, I like dark things, and so
Yes.
when I designed that blanket, of course, there's so many, themes within the Grimm Fairy Tales that just kind of, like, repeat themselves throughout. So I just took overall ideas, and incorporated them into the blanket. So the first thing that I have in the center of the blanket is a brick wall with a door to kind of represent, going into that secret garden or going past that wall because there's lots of walls in the Grimm Fairy Tales. And then, we did a dark wood, and then we did something with a mirror. I did like cobwebs, I did birds, I did the golden thread, and I just represented different things throughout the blanket. And because it was so much fun, and I've been meaning to do another book like that, but that's one of the things that I love to do is to take stuff that like
Mhm.
literature and put it into a blanket and just kind of embody the book with art.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and that's something for
Oh
you to
my
think about
gosh.
too.
So there's so much you can do with books and crochet, and I truly believe that the two are related, easily done by the same person. A lot of crocheters love to read, a lot of readers love to
Mhm,
crochet.
mhm.
There's so many ways to combine the two and create a really cozy environment for yourself.
Oh,
So
definitely, definitely.
I hope you all have enjoyed our discussion about what we like to read and ways that you can put some crochet into your reading time.
Yes.
All right, it's time for Biz. What have you been watching this week? Or
Um,
nothing at all, or your computer screen, or what is that?
not a lot. When we do sit down at night to watch, we've been just kind of going with non-thinking TV shows because all of us are kind of dead at the end of the day. And it's all just been very busy. So we've been watching the Barbecue Brawl on Prime because that one's fun. And then at night we do Everybody Loves Raymond. Those are the two things that we're on right now because they're simple.
Yeah, it's kind of sparse around here too. Baseball is back, so we're going to little league games, but we're also watching the Phillies. I'm trying to work my way. The network TVs come
Mm,
back in the middle of October, right?
mhm.
So I'm rewatching last season's NCIS and last season's Elsbeth. Um, just they're fun, and we're still working our way through White Collar. So we're kind of in that mode right now. Nothing new. We meant to start Only Murders in the Building last weekend,
Yes, I
and
want
we
to see that
totally
one.
flaked on that. We just the weekend we were just doing other stuff. So we have to start that this weekend.
Well, Steve Martin is one of our absolute favorite comedians, and
Mm-mm.
um, I just love just about everything he does. So I'm anticipating Martin Short gets on my nerves, but I'm sure with Steve Martin there to kind of tame that down, I'm sure it's going to be funny. But the other thing that we've been watching, and I it's on Prime, but and I'm not sure if it's on one of the like extra channels that we have, but it's a show called Troppo, Troppo. It is an Australian murder mystery show. Has a Yank cop that lives in Australia, and he's a problem. So these two problem people get together to solve this murder
Of
mystery.
course.
Very good show. Lots of swearing in it, but other than that, it's a very, very good show, very good story, and there are 2 seasons. So, the first season came out long enough ago and we had watched it that we forgot what the main premise of the story was. So, we just watched season 1 and now we're starting on season 2, but that's one of those ones where it's like we watch it in between life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's not happening very
Yep.
fast.
Yep. Yep. Another one of the shows that I absolutely love, it's on Hulu called The Old Man with Jeff Bridges.
Okay.
Um, the first season, it's espionage, and I
Okay.
love espionage. Um, first season was fabulous. And I thought they were going to end it after the first season, and I was very upset. Lo and behold, I think this week the second season is starting. So I
Nice.
really wanted to go back and start watching the first season again so that we could there's so much that goes on in an espionage thriller, right? So I wanted to go back and pull up the first episode. It's now within 45 minutes of my bedtime. So I'm looking for something short.
Yes.
It's an hour long.
Oh, man, all of these
So
shows are getting really, really long, which
I know.
I'm okay with that because I really do like the BBC version of things where, like, they tell a story in, like, 3 or 4-hour-long episodes, and then you've got the whole
Yeah.
story. However, it makes for difficult watching if you're kind of a fast
It's
consumer and you only have a few minutes.
Well, it's not about fast consuming. It's about, you know, getting to bed on time.
Right.
So I wake up way too early for me to stay up till all hours.
Yeah.
So not going to happen. But that is what
Yeah.
we're watching this week. I
Yes.
hope you all are watching some fabulous TV as
Yes.
well. All right, Ms. Biz, I think we have covered all that we need to cover today. We are so excited to have you here. We're thrilled every week when you join us, when you watch us in replay. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode all about crochet and reading.
Yes.
And make sure that you subscribe because we're coming out with some really cool stuff in the next few weeks that you won't want to miss. So, in the
Remember,
meantime, we're going
readers
to
are
say,
leaders, everybody.
oh, I like that.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to say goodbye for now, but only until next week.
Next week.
All
Yay.
right.
Oh,
Thanks
hey,
for joining us, everybody.
wait.
What are we doing?
Next week we're talking about because it's Friday the 13th. We're gonna do some Halloween and spooky stuff. So hopefully you'll join us for that.
Yep, we're going to put together a great episode as usual. All right, everybody, it's time to say goodbye. We'll see you next week.
Have
Have
a
a
great weekend.
great weekend.